the idea that we should be constantly learning, and that we can change our ways, and we can adopt new ideas. That's very much part of the American spirit, I think. So I don't think what we're doing as CPI is a problem. I think it's actually very helpful, and I think a lot of people see that. I tell people we are the political version of the Velvet Underground. You know the Velvet Underground?
I'm a musician, you know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know very well, right? That they didn't ever sell as many records as the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but everyone who bought their albums started a band, right? And that they did things that the Rolling Stones and the Beatles did later because they did it first. They were pioneers. They were the cutting edge. Well, CPI, we are the political Velvet Underground, right? We talked about patriotic socialism and all of that before anybody did. And now there's all kinds of people on the internet that are calling themselves patriotic socialists, MAGA communists, and all of that. Well, you can thank us for that. We paved the way. We talked about the Uhuru case, right after they got raided. A week after they were raided, they were at our conference in Chicago, and we gave them a standing ovation. We supported them. Now Tucker Carlson is having them on. Now their case is getting international attention. We were there from the beginning. And, we don't see this. I tell people in politics, what you might call plagiarism is actually the highest form of flattery. It means that you're right, And so I don't see this as people stole our idea. I see that, no, we accomplished something, right? I've heard people use the expression throwing the newspaper over the fence. Because when you do the kind of work that we do, you come up with ideas and you throw them out there and you never know. And one idea that we came out with 4 or 5 years ago, we had the idea that because the rent is going up in major cities all across the country, the reason it's going up is because of real estate speculation, right? These landlords, they buy a property and then they wait for the market to go up and then they sell it. And they don't actually have to have anyone move in order to make any money.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, and in fact, if people move in and they don't pay it high enough, it makes the property value go down. So they actually try to make the rent as high as they can so they can flip the property. And so the rent keeps going up and Americans can't afford to live. So we came up with the idea in CPI, and I talked about it on my live streams. We wrote some articles about it. Why not tax landlords for empty housing units, right? And give them an economic incentive to fill every housing unit. Well, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, has included that in her official platform. That's great. I don't know if she heard it from us, or maybe somebody heard it from us who then passed it on to somebody, but now that's part of the Green Party platform. Well, Jill Stein, we've interviewed her before. CPI members have interviewed her.
I have too, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe she got it from us, maybe not. We threw the newspaper over the wall, and it's caught on. And now a candidate who's going to be on the ballot in, I think, enough states that she could actually win. She's probably not going to win as a third-party candidate, but a candidate that's going to get national recognition has taken a policy solution, not a complaint, not an anger, but a solution that we developed and is including it. I think that's a great sign, and that's the role that we seek to play. We seek to be a factory of ideas in a lot of ways. And we want to get people thinking, and we want to get people to come together. We want to build a community of people who can work together and rely on each other, and we want to make connections in places that you wouldn't normally find connections.
Community is on every possible level you can imagine, including what could be what we call intentional communities, where you have a certain number of people living on properties, right? And there's people starting to do that and thinking in terms of, okay, then maybe another intentional community will be down the road. Sure. And that would change society dramatically. Just like, I know you talk about, you don't really focus a lot on worker-owned cooperatives, but I think there is that component too that can be part of that process where people realize that they can make all the most important decisions. Why leave it to a handful of people when you're running a business? The possibilities like with Mondragon in the Basque region of Spain, where they've shown how it can be done and how it can grow.
Well, I think the most successful examples of cooperatives have been in the socialist countries. I mean, Huawei Technologies is a profit-sharing cooperative under Chinese law. It's the biggest telecommunications manufacturer in the world. Harvard Business Review said it's one of the greatest examples of profit sharing as a model for a company working, and it's in the communist government of China. As they set up Huawei Technologies as a private company where profits are shared among the employees. Now, you know, I mean, that doesn't mean that everything's perfect there, but that's an example, right? I think, you know, and there's many examples. You know, in Nicaragua, where I've been to Nicaragua, I was there as an elections monitor a couple of years ago. You know, they have thousands of worker cooperatives that are part of their micro entrepreneurship program that they've started. So, you know, I think worker cooperatives can be part of the process of changing society. However, I do emphasize a government, right? You know, we do need a government of action. So that's where I would differ on that, and that you know, worker cooperatives just in and of by themselves would be competing with other worker cooperatives.
Let's grow this conversation. Let's talk some more. It's also setting the example of showing others really what ought to be done right now, of reaching out to other groups that want to talk to you that you might disagree with. I mean, I don't agree with myself 100% of the time.
Oh, well, there you go.
Do you know what I mean? Because I am, like you said, I am like a sponge. I want to learn.